Oh boy. Here we go again.
Is a feeling that's becoming all too familiar with me in speedrunning lately. Way too familiar. Oh, Shift. What a dedicated guy. He's been really pushing that sub 40 in Battle for Bikini Bottom lately. I wonder how that's going. Oh, it happened? A new PS2 exclusive trick? The slowest console? I gotta see this. Oh, it's pause storage. An exploit where you can just dupe and collect the same early game spatulas over and over again. Cruise boosting? Level variety? Cool movement? Nah, just replace everything that made the speedrun cool in the first place with pure slop. Sub 40 was supposed to be a monumental achievement, an ultimate display of skill, the culmination of a multi-year grind. But this? What a sick joke. And this is just the most recent example of how a new trick can sometimes make a speedrun worse. Speedrunning is the act of beating video games as fast as possible, but more importantly, it's fun. Watching your favorite games get destroyed by dedicated runners is always a sight to behold, and it's through this spectacle that inspires others to start running themselves. And that forms the speedrun communities that we all know and love today. Regardless of skill level, whether you're grinding for a record, a personal goal time, or you just want to have a friendly race with your friends, the main reason we speedrun is because it's fun. This fun also extends to people who like routing and experimenting with games, which often lead to new innovative strategies and even new glitches. These new discoveries are often met with excitement, as the time saves make the overall run faster. They keep a run fresh for runners who've been around for several years, and they draw more attention to the game, which in turn leads to new runners joining and viewership increasing. But not all discoveries have necessarily been good for the games or their communities. In this most recent case of Battle for Bikini Bottom, the new pause storage route on PS2 is not the same run as the Xbox Any% run that people love so much. It's repetitive, gimmicky, and severely lacks the variety that makes a good collectathon speedrun. It's over 10 minutes faster to dupe spatulas on PS2 than to do the speedrun on Xbox. But it feels so anticlimactic to say that this is how sub 40 and sub 30 were achieved. Weirdly enough, this isn't even the first time that a duplication glitch caused a stir in the BFBB community. Back in October 2018, a revolutionary method to grind shiny objects, the game's in-game currency, known as Skee-ball abuse, SBA for short, was found. This trick involved getting the bubble bowl stuck in between a couple tikis and the Skee-ball hole to generate shiny objects at an unprecedented rate. These shiny objects could be traded into Mr. Krabs for a maximum of 8 golden spatulas. With SBA, you could generate the 39,500 shiny objects needed to get all of them, and that shook up routing quite a bit. Several spatulas in the route you'd obtain with flashy movement and platforming were now replaced with more Mr. Krabs spatulas, and although it was a fantastic time save for 100%, SBA changed the Any% route in a way that was less interesting for many runners. Just days after its discovery, the Any% category was split between SBA and no SBA variants, and runner activity mainly moved to no SBA. 7 years later, and now with the discovery of pause storage, Any% is now split between Xbox/GameCube and PS2, the former being the default subcategory on the leaderboard. Much like what the SpongeBob movie game speedrun leaderboard does, with the far more popular and competitive no pause storage category being the default when you visit that game's speedrun.com page. Wait, hold on a second. Any% is no longer split between SBA and no SBA. Did the trick get banned? Actually, no, it didn't. In fact, it's still an important trick widely used in Any% today. But you know what's also an important trick? Breakfast.
And the best way to start your day is with a banana and some Magic Spoon cereal, the sponsor of today's video. Look, I haven't really had much cereal since I was a kid, and I can't lie, I miss the taste, the flavor, and the crunch. But the sugar, not so much. With 13 to 14 grams of protein, 0 sugar, and about 4 to 5 grams of carbs, I can enjoy cereal again with more grown-up ingredients. But to tell you the truth, most days when I'm in a rush, I prefer energy bars. But luckily, Magic Spoon has them as well. And not only do they have like a wide variety of flavors just like the cereal, but they also have 13 to 14 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and 1 to 2 grams of carbs. It's portable, not sticky, and carb conscious. I can't recommend this enough. To get started, use my code LunaticJ or click the link in the description below to try Magic Spoon cereal or treats today and get $5 off. You can also find Magic Spoon on Amazon or your local grocery store. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click the link in my description to go to magicspoon.com/lunaticj or scan the QR code on screen for $5 off.
So, what makes the pause storage situation different than SBA? Well, back in late 2019, after a full year of any percent being split, SBA was now a much better understood trick by its player base. New and fast consistent 1 Tiki setups, which were previously deemed unviable for runs, were now commonplace. Combined with several new strats and a new route, runners had accepted SBA had its place in any percent, and made their peace with the trick. Even though SBA did take away some of the cool spatulas out of the run, every other spatula in the route was still unique. The core appeal of the run remained intact. The same cannot be said for pause storage, and that's okay. The pause storage run can exist as its own thing, while the main competition remains focused on the Xbox route, hereby preserving the integrity and enjoyability of the speed game, even when the unrestricted any percent run becomes a boring category, because the main competitive run is still there. Category splits are common practice in speedrunning whenever a massive find completely changes a run. Any percent, of course, is any percent. Allow everything that isn't explicitly cheating, even if it is boring. Well, maybe boring isn't exactly fair, because these tricks don't always start out as boring. For new games that get broken shortly after release, speedrunners from all sorts of communities will flock to them to try to get a comically short time. For older games that have suddenly gotten a massive skip on the caliber of a credits warp or arbitrary code execution, Ace, you're more likely to see the already established runners grind these new any percent routes for a while, with maybe a couple newcomers. When these kind of tricks are new, it's exciting to learn how much more broken one of your favorite games is, or how busted a brand new game already is. And you gotta admit one thing, it makes for some great YouTube content.
Hey, have you seen how broken the Gen 4 remakes are? You can beat the game in like 15 minutes. It's crazy. Wow, you gotta see this. Elden Ring's only been out for a couple of months, and yet speedrunners are already zipping across the map and beating the game in under 7 minutes. How do they figure this stuff out? Yo, remember how you can beat Paper Mario by doing that SRM thing in Ocarina of Time and doing the stop and swap thing? Yeah, now you could just do the credits warp within just Paper Mario itself. You don't even need to do the stop and swap anymore. How? Well, Ace, of course. Ace, Ace, Ace. Hey, look! You can now beat Super Mario Sunshine in under 20 minutes because of Ace. Whoa, look at all these Pokemon games where you could just warp to the credits because of Ace.
In this era of speedrunning, YouTube content is king. So much so that I'm willing to bet that you, yes, you, the viewers at home, watch more videos about speedruns than the actual speedruns themselves. And whenever something new is found that skips the vast majority of a game, there are so many speedrunning YouTubers now who will gladly jump at the opportunity to cover the new trick while it's hot, especially while many are still running it, which may include the YouTuber themselves. But eventually, after the initial buzz dies down, watching paint dry becomes more interesting. The novelty has worn off. Leaderboard activity for the run screeches to a halt, and everyone moves on. I gotta be honest, whenever Ace gets discovered in an old Nintendo game these days, I don't enjoy rushing to make a video on it anymore. Don't get me wrong, the discovery itself is spectacular, and I highly respect the community efforts that went into its discovery, understanding it, and making it speedrun viable. But I can hardly pretend to get excited knowing full well that these categories won't see much long-term competition. They certainly fall in the camp of more fun to play than to watch, and even then, you won't see many grind these runs for very long. competition is one of, if not my favorite aspect of this hobby. Of course, competition is rich in categories where there is much more coherent gameplay and structure. Even runs that are very glitch heavy are still entertaining when the logic behind them is easy to understand, especially when there's a healthy balance between unintended glitches and high-level movement and intended gameplay. This competition incentivizes runners to continue grinding and improving, and it just makes for some really engaging and hyped storylines. The kind that keeps you glued to your seat when you catch your favorite runner live on an amazing pace, or when you're watching a speedrun history video on a game you haven't played in 10 years. Or if you're daring enough, the kind that gets you to pick up that controller or keyboard, open up LiveSplit, and join in yourself. Luckily, because these boring runs are merely variants of their more popular, restrictive counterparts, a short, dull any percent or ace category is in no way reflective of a game's overall speedrun appeal, as they aren't the first thing that comes to mind or the category that's listed first on a leaderboard. Usually. As unfortunate as it is, sometimes a speed game's reputation ends up unfairly tainted as a result of how prevalent a boring trick is. You can have all the categories, subcategories, and cater to every kind of playstyle you could imagine on a leaderboard. Yet, in the end, it won't change how the general public still hasn't gotten over SRM in The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. We're talking about a glitch so powerful it allows you to get any item in the game, change the function of any actor, run the file name as code in a way that somehow isn't Ace, warp anywhere, including the credits, oh, and of course, write and execute player-written code, aka Ace. Much like the other games I mentioned earlier, the discovery of SRM and Ace led to numerous category splits. The old OOT any percent run was now Defeat Ganon, which alongside categories like All Dungeons and 100% now had SRM and no SRM variants. Several categories chose to ban SRM altogether. Ace was banned in every category that wasn't any percent, and it isn't even used in the fastest any percent route for Ocarina of Time anymore. Majora's Mask is similar, but only any percent and 100% have SRM subcategories in addition to no SRM. By all accounts, these two communities successfully preserve the categories people love, while also still including the SRM categories on the leaderboard for those that actually enjoy playing those runs. In my opinion, things were handled mostly well, yet I can't help but point out a double standard. Why is it that some games that also have boring any percent runs that are too broken are viewed more favorably than others similar, like the N64 Zeldas? Why, despite also having more restrictive categories that see overall more activity than any percent, do some games get treated differently? Well, there isn't always a clear answer for this double standard. It could stem from comparing a newer game to an older one, a difference in genre, or even a defeatist attitude of, they found the most broken discovery this game has ever seen. This is it. Pack it up. Even when time and time again, there's always something new waiting to be found. I will say that leaderboard structure could play a huge role. Many games that have broken any percent runs that aren't the main competitive runs won't put any percent as the default category on their speedrun.com page. Some do, but I've seen many that put the shorter categories last and their longer ones first, and that could help change people's perceptions a bit. After all, when people aren't familiar with Ocarina of Time speedruns decide to look up a run on YouTube or speedrun.com, they may just watch the any percent run, get confused by the power of SRM and how it's used to warp to the credits, and walk away assuming that's what Ocarina of Time speedruns are all about these days. This then brings up another issue. In a game with so many different categories and playstyles, what do you choose to promote other than the 4-minute any percent credits warp? There really isn't an easy answer. 100% has always been a fan favorite, but it's definitely on the longer side, as is Glitchless. GSR is a great no major glitches run that's a little over an hour long, and was a very popular racing category back in the day. MST is definitely the best category in my opinion, and has had the coolest storyline recently. But you know what I really miss? Before all this SRM stuff, before get item manipulation, there was this beautiful period of any percent from 2012 to 2014 known as the classic Kakariko route. You know the one, where you escape the forest, swim down Zora's River, gather the chickens in Kakariko Village to get the bottle, do the Ganondorf wrong warp from the end of Deku Tree, escape the collapsing tower, and defeat Ganon as young Link with a stick. Despite this classic route's relevance only lasting a short time period in OOT's long speedrun history, it captured the hearts of many, like myself, and was a great introduction to speedrunning. This is a great example of a legacy category, and Classic Kakariko was so beloved amongst all the pre-2020 Any% routes that as of June 2025, the community voted to bring it back to the main Defeat Ganon leaderboard, where it is the default subcategory and currently the most actively ran category in the game. It's beginner friendly, and strats being restricted to those found before 2015 puts an emphasis on refining your execution of a route set in stone rather than adapting to new finds. This reverence of a legacy route isn't unique to Ocarina of Time. Many other games have those too, just because people still like to compete with these old rule sets, and nostalgic viewers still have a strong attachment to them. So, if there's one thing you should take away from this video, is that while a boring trick may ruin some speedruns, it doesn't hurt the speed games themselves. A bad, defeatist attitude does. If you don't like a new boring trick, instead of outright quitting or stop watching, there are much more constructive paths that you can take instead. Either run or watch a more restrictive category where the trick is banned, less useful, or take the time to understand it better and give it a proper chance. It may just end up growing on you. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to shoot for the moon.